Hello, insatiable listeners. We have now concluded our season 9 of Fiery Fertility. I have heard from so many of you how much you love the season. And if you haven't listened to season 9, I highly recommend you check it out, whether you're in the market for kids or not. It's really a look into our feminine power and how to access that through nutrition, our healthcare choices, and owning our story. We are now on hiatus between seasons, and I'm on maternity leave. I will be back on January 15th with a brand new season 10, which will be a crash course in truce with food. We will look at the root causes of why we can't lose weight and how addressing these root causes, which aren't about willpower or discipline, can make us feel back in control of food, get off the all or nothing roller coaster, get us to stop monitoring ourselves all the time, and trust ourselves when the dessert cart comes. All with a main course of self-compassion and self-acceptance that doesn't have to mean resignation if you aren't comfortable in your body. When you can accomplish this freedom and consistency, weight loss can be a side effect. I'm so excited to share this season with you. And Truce with Food, my signature boutique group program, will begin in March 2020 for another round. In the meantime, enjoy these popular Insatiable rebroadcast episodes to help you thrive during the holiday season and set you up really well for 2020. Can you believe it? It's 2020. All right. I look forward to reconnecting in the new year. People are often afraid of the teasing of oh, you're eating healthy or whatever. Plan for the teasing. Are you going to be, how are you going to handle that? It may not even come to fruition because we often catastrophize, but how are you going to plan for that? Can you be playful about it rather than defensive?
I would overeat, and that was probably one of the reasons I would get a stomachache, because I used to do that. Then you're overwhelming your body. Just eat regularly. It's just another meal. You have to, it's a special meal, but it is just another meal. Don't plan to overeat.
Battling food and your body doesn't work. You want to love and accept yourself. And because you're insatiable, you want results too. And wouldn't you know, you bring the same intensity to your life, wanting to maximize your time, potential, and experiences you have here on this beautiful and wondrous planet Earth. Fair warning, it will be a roller coaster, but for those insatiable, that's your prime time to thrive. We're here to say yes to the hunger of wanting it all. I'm your co-host, Ali Shapiro, a health coach who helps people end the losing battle of dieting and find a truce with food.
And I'm Juliet Berg, nutritionist, fitness expert, and the co-owner of Unite Fitness Studio franchise.
Welcome to episode 51, non-traditional portion control tips for the holidays. Conventional wisdom tells you to visualize success in order to achieve a goal. But what Ali and I will reveal is a better technique that's more effective than just positive thinking. How can you gracefully get on the same page with your hosts and hostesses when it comes to wanting to eat healthy over the holidays? And lastly, what can we measure so that you can eliminate your guilt from indulging over the holiday season?
Today, everybody, we're getting real about the holidays and portion control tips that I guarantee you've never heard before. Because, Juliet, if I hear someone tell me to check in until I'm 80% full or to breathe, I don't know. That stuff annoys me. I'm like, we've already
Even the word portion control, even those two words, portion control, irritate me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like part of the control metaphor, part of the fixed mindset, part of a bigger narrative that bothers me. We were talking, I think you and I both through the years, like I was telling you, I eat differently during the holidays for sure. But with my sister being celiac and me being, I act like I'm celiac now after our podcast with Dr. Samantha when she told me I probably was. We eat relatively healthy over the holidays. It doesn't mean that I don't eat differently, but I've come so far. Like it doesn't even feel threatening. How about for you?
Oh, yeah. It doesn't necessarily feel threatening. If anything, it's exciting because I enjoy certain holiday get-togethers and for the tradition of them. But one thing that I've changed a lot of is I don't say yes to every holiday get-together. I limit myself for health purposes because I don't think I need to be going to every holiday dinner, that a friend invites me to or every holiday party that, someone else's company is allowing you to be a +1 to. So, I've just learned to pick and choose a handful of ones that are really meaningful to me. And that's it. I don't need any more than that. Otherwise, I'm not going to feel good. And and to say like, oh, I'm going to go somewhere and not eat anything or not drink anything. I don't believe that is very helpful for people or possible for people. And it makes you feel like it puts you in a stress mindset, because now you have to basically, what's the word I'm looking for? Restrict yourself the whole time.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny too is like a lot of people eat because they feel alone to begin with or overdrink. I mean, you can be alone in a crowd. It's very easy to do, or out of place, or like you don't belong, or, whatever it is. And so you're right. It's unrealistic. And I think, yeah, we're not going to give you those kind of tips, but I do also want to just mention to people that Juliet and I have come to this really peaceful, exciting place through trial and error, through practice. It didn't magically happen. Part of that control mindset is a fixed mindset. You think success is instant and easy and it shouldn't take effort, and anything less than perfection is failure. And that keeps you from learning and being in that imperfect place where you get research and data. So this is why I love my Truths with Food group at this time. I'm like, we have so much research opportunities. Like, there's so much data flying around right now.
This time of year. Yeah, for sure. And I'll give a really good example. But when I moved to Philly, it's now going on 9 years, I think. It's amazing. It's kind of nuts. I was coming out of a really bad relationship, and my stress was at an all-time high, and my relationship with food was at the worst. And I was always restricting myself and, trying to be good. And when the holidays would come around, for example, Thanksgiving with my family, if I would let myself eat a little bit, it would open up Pandora's box to then just binging on everything that was there, because it was this mentality of, I'm not going to be able to have this again. All right, well, I already fucked up with eating those mashed potatoes when I told myself I wasn't going to. I was just going to have the turkey and the vegetables. So then it would just lead me into a downward spiral of eating everything there, stuffing myself with pie, every kind of pie, and just trying it all. And, with every year, me ending up on the bathroom floor, no joke, curled into a ball because I was in that much physical pain because I overate to the point of almost making myself sick. It was those kinds of traumas in my life that actually helped me. But, Allie and I were talking about this mentality of knowing you're going to fail before you go into it. Yeah, that really helped me a lot.
Yeah. So for the people listening, I run a Truths with Food group, and one of the first assignments that people get, it's almost pre-work, is I give them a failure assignment. And they say, how are you going to imagine? So we started in the fall this year. Imagine it's December 14th and nothing's changed. Why did you fail? Why did you not put the effort into the program? Why, when it got challenging, what were the excuses? And the research shows us that, yeah, it's great to visualize and be positive and know what you want. And what's most effective is thinking, what's going to stop me? Where am I going to get stuck? What are my pitfalls? And so you can get ahead of them. Doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. And we'll get to that about what to actually measure. People found this assignment so revealing, so helpful, and now they know what to look for as we're in the muddle of the program right now. And the participation rate is through the roof because they plan for this. And so I think it's really important to think about what will go wrong, right? Juliet, you said one thing is you used to say yes to all the opportunities. So I think for people who, a lot of my clients are introverts, it's like, you know what? I don't have the capacity for that. So how am I going to say no? How am I going to feel comfortable saying no? How am I going to evaluate if this is something that I want to do? Right? So you get a chance to think about it ahead of time rather than, oh my God, feeling powerless over the situation when it arises. So think about the pitfalls from travel delays, right? Like, are you going to need to have something that you can eat? Because, even booking flights, don't book early morning. Can you not sleep on a red eye? And that's going to set you up really badly. Like, really think about what kind of support you need and where you can fail, and then map around it. I think that's a really important place to start.
Yeah. And I mean, going back to, with my own story about Thanksgiving being the moment where I always overeat and always end up with a debilitating stomachache. Every year it has, it's been 9 years now since that one incident that I can really vividly remember. It's because I brought a friend with me, and he was texting me, and I was in the bathroom on the floor. And he said, "Where are you? You disappeared. I brought my friend to my family's Thanksgiving." And I was like, well, I'm completely indisposed. I can't come out. So I'll see you. Have fun. Enjoy my family, because I'll see you when I'm better. And I don't, who knows how long that'll take. But, every year since then, it has been this plan of almost failure, knowing that, all right, these foods don't agree with me. And not that I'm even overeating now, but what I found is that I'm very sensitive to a lot of the foods that are served around Thanksgiving. My butter doesn't agree with me, for example, and lots of things are cooked in butter, but now I bring more vegan options to Thanksgiving. My family accepts the food that I bring, and it helps me it's not that I don't eat the food that they have, but I bring other options so I can choose what I want. And the stomach aches have gotten better over the years, but I planned for it. I planned for the stomach ache, and knowing that, it helps to not have them happen.
Right. It's kind of, and then you can also have like the peppermint if you need it, or like I'm thinking about when I really struggled with overeating in the holidays, I would do what you kind of did, like, or I would say, okay, you can eat whatever you want on Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve and Christmas. But then like inevitably, I forgot about all the holiday parties and the Hershey Kisses and all the candy drawers at work, like you forget about that stuff. Right. So that never worked. But I remember even when I was healing my IBS and depression and all those digestive issues, just knowing that I would have the ginger tea that I needed or whatever in case I was going to have digestive issues, that made me feel so much calmer and less anxious and have less self-doubt, which then enabled better choices. I think for people listening, like this is where you have flexibility that you might not think about is like, are you going to go to every party? Do you have to stay at every party the longest? I think from a food standpoint, thinking about what you really enjoy versus what feels like it's special. I referred those Hershey Kisses. It took me 3 years when I was healing my relationship with food to realize, oh my God, the red and green Hershey Kisses are the same as the silver ones that are around all year. It seems so silly, but it's like, even if there's
because you thought that they were special because they're holiday Hershey Kisses. We always label things as being like a certain way, oh, that's special. It only comes around one time per year. So, you had mentioned like the pumpkin spice latte in the fall, but then there's the gingerbread latte in the winter, and then there's the frappuccino in the summer. So you have to start to categorize things differently.
Exactly. Or one of the things I always used to love was cutouts. We do gluten-free cutouts now, but I just don't care for them as much as, I'll have one
What's
or two.
A cutout? I don't even know what that is.
Oh yeah, you're Jewish. So I'm only half Jewish. But I grew up really celebrating Christmas. They're like cutout cookies. So you
okay.
rollouts, and then you put the icing on and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I realized oh my God, those cutouts, you can buy them all day, every day, in the year. Starbucks has them. They're not called cutouts, but they're cutely decorated cookies, and you can get those all year round. So it's or even the peanut butter. If there's something that I think is a family tradition, I think that's really important to partake in it because it's more about the ritual and the memory, but really get clear on what's a family ritual and what's available all year.
And even that's a choice, right? If there's a family ritual that is hurting you, let's say you have a food allergy or sensitivity, it's no longer working for you. This is where openly communicating with your family is so important. And, it's as if you're at a restaurant and you're communicating with the waiter, hey, listen, can you make my meal this way because I can't, I'm allergic to it, or you let your family know that this, I won't be partaking in that. And maybe you bring an alternative for yourself, or so they can make you an alternative. People want to make other people happy, especially around the holidays. They want you to enjoy yourself.
Yeah. And plan for this hasn't happened to any of my clients, but people are often afraid of the teasing of oh, you're eating healthy or whatever. Plan for the teasing. Are you going to be, how are you going to handle that? It may not even come to fruition because we often catastrophize, but how are you going to plan for that? Can you be playful about it rather than defensive? Or are you just really intimate and say, yeah, I'm just experimenting with different things. I don't have it figured out, but this is what
I was just thinking about my family that every year they say, all right, when's the stomach ache coming? And then I could just be like, fuck you. It's, but in a playful, I know it sucks, my body's so sensitive,
Yeah. Oh my God.
My brother likes to tease me because he's eating really healthy now, but when he wasn't, he would be like, I don't understand, the healthiest person in the room, and you're over there curled up in a ball, and we're all fine over here.
It's yeah, but that's because I'm so healthy. I understand when things disrupt my system. You guys just don't know. We have a joke in my family because my sister has celiac. I consider myself now to have celiac, but we just eat relatively healthy over the years. It's just easier. But we joke that, how Kobe beef has it's massaged and so we joke now that we have these Kobe beef routines where it's I need my lemon water. I need to jump on my trampoline. I need to get my caffeine. But it's fun when you have other people with you and your family understands, and then my dad is still totally he's gotten better, but he's
always offering us more and more food. And we're like, we just ate, but we're like, so we could just like laugh that that's him, right? But I think a lot of people feel misunderstood by their family or other people during the holidays. And I think planning for that can really, really help, and including traveling as well. Like, oh my God, there are healthy options. Do you just need to maybe like research ahead of time, like in the airport or whatnot? And do you need to get your sleep? Like, what are the things? I know for me, there's like 3 things: blood sugar control. So I'm always making sure that I have fat and protein, sleep, and just staying relatively active so that I don't get to that. I have this theory. We all have kind of this tipping point where it's like you're bloated, you're sluggish, you're lethargic, and you're like, I'm just going to wake up on January 1st.
Yeah, and going back to the blood sugar control one, and so many times a common mistake, especially around big, holiday dinners, whether it be Thanksgiving or Christmas, is the whole I'm not going to eat until dinner. And dinner times sometimes is early for people. Might be as early as 1 o'clock, sometimes 4 or 5 o'clock. Our dinners is usually like 4 or 5, but I'm not waiting. I'm not fasting. And if I did, I would be so hangry that I would overeat. And that was probably one of the reasons I would get a stomachache, because I used to do that. Then you're overwhelming your body. Just eat regularly. It's just another meal. You have to, it's a special meal, but it is just another meal. Don't plan to overeat.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so true. Figure out what else is making you want to overeat.
Or plan to overeat. Like we were talking about the failure thing. If you plan to overeat, then you can help yourself by stabilizing your blood sugar ahead of time, by having breakfast, having a snack or having lunch before dinner.
Yeah. And I think on this plan to fail thing, realize that a lot of people overeat because they think they're going to cut themselves off the next day. So I actually think, oh my God, I'm not going to eat potatoes the next
There's
day.
no way. You know how many leftovers people usually get?
Yeah. So even plan for that, because you'll feel like, oh, I can eat this tomorrow. And I mean, everyone's Thanksgiving is different, but like traditional healthy Thanksgiving food is relatively healthy. Like it's not, I mean, maybe the stuffing and stuff, but like a little bit of
like so paleo. We just potatoes, meat, vegetables.
That's true. It is. It is. So I think that's really important to just, set yourself up for success by being realistic. I always say by being realistic, you can remain optimistic because you have planned for that. The second thing, and I got this idea from Randy Buckley, who was our Insatiable podcast guest last week, and it was an amazing episode. If you love this idea and more about boundaries for the holidays, please go back and listen to that episode. But she talks about calling your guests or whoever is going to host you ahead of time and ask them about their hopes and dreams for the experience. And when I read that, I got teary. It felt so intimate. I was like, would someone really do this? Like, it feels so intimate. But to me, that question brought the sacred back to the holidays.
Yes, I feel like that's such a great invitation. I can just imagine, my aunt is hosting this year, and I can imagine asking her that. And I feel like she wants to be asked that, but nobody does, because it's meaningful to her.
Yeah. And what do you think she would say? I mean, what do you think she would say if you asked that? I mean, you could obviously want to get the clear answer, but.
Yeah. I think my assumption would be that she would say to bring family together and have meaningful conversations and just, show our love and support for one another as being unified through family, being family.
Yeah.
And being together all together, because it's not, we're not all in the same room except for typically that one time per year. So.
Yeah. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's about the food, but the food is just a medium to the conversing. And I just think asking that of your host, and also the people that you really care about. I know we'll go visit Carlos's family over New Year's, and they are Carlos and I think pretty similarly politically, and they do not, the family that we're visiting. And I know for Carlos, it makes him, I love to spar politically. I think it's fun, at least when people use real facts. I don't like when people make up, then that's just not fun, but it makes him really uncomfortable. And so I really have to ground myself and realize okay, I'm definitely not going to change their minds, and it doesn't even matter. And so I leave it out of the conversation though, because it upsets him. And so I don't want to upset him. That I want us to have a great time. They don't live near us. They're in Florida. Even with the people that you're most close with, I think asking that, you start to get a different idea of
There's always opportunity to get to know somebody on a different level. And I think that oftentimes when we are going to family get-togethers, especially holiday ones where you don't see people, very often, it can be awkward. There
Oh
can
my
be
God,
a
totally.
really awkward feeling. And, I know I used to dread that awkwardness. But if you plan for the awkwardness and just know, and even certain social settings, I now brace myself with just saying, okay, you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel out of your comfort zone. It's going to be awkward. But if you can, rather than fighting that feeling and just knowing this is what's going to come, it can lead to an opportunity for you to just sort of embrace that and, be more light-hearted or try to get to know someone or ask somebody a question, just having it more inviting openness, that you're bringing into a situation.
Yeah, because I think, when I work with my clients, a lot of times overeating in social situations or around the holidays is to fit in, is to feel part of the group. And it's this underlying assumption that that's the only way we can do that, right? I mean, is by eating the same or going with the flow. And I will just remind everyone of one of my favorite sayings from Sweden, only dead fish go with the flow. But really thinking like, how can I connect with these people? Because I think sometimes when we're afraid that we're going to say the wrong thing or that we're different, we focus on the differences, and that creates almost like a conflict before there isn't even a conflict. Like me thinking, oh, we're different politically, right? I mean, I'm thinking of that now because it's like height of the election season. By the time this goes live, it'll be over, thank God. But like, we have so much more in common, and like, they're wonderful people, and we're going to have a great time. And, I do have a lot in common with them. And so focusing on that, and I think finding the common ground with all of your family members, knowing that it's one day, right? Or
Yeah.
a couple
I
of...
had an instance recently with someone's family member, and we were at a restaurant celebrating someone's birthday, and then all the people got up to go to the bathroom, and it was just me and this other person. And it was so uncomfortably awkward for me. I don't know. And I had to think to myself, I don't know how this person feels. So I can't say it's uncomfortable for them or awkward for them. And just trying to make this small talk. And I just felt like it was just going so sour and wrong because it was so inauthentic. And then, after the fact, I just reflected on it and I thought to myself, why couldn't we have just sat there in silence for a few moments while those people were in the bathroom? There's nothing wrong with that either. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong if you can't fill the space with talking.
That's so true. That's so true.
Just
I
thought
probably
of
would have
that,
been, I probably would have been like, well, this is awkward. We barely know each other.
Yeah, yeah. In this case, we don't barely know each other, but it's an awkwardness. So. But I just thought to myself, it doesn't have to be,
That's true. I think that's another way that we wear ourselves out, is thinking we have to start the conversation or we have to keep the conversation going, rather than, it's amazing if you just like are quiet. Sometimes someone else will start it, and then it's like off on you, But I think remembering that the uncomfortability is going to be there and is temporary.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So I love that question, but it really gets you into thinking about your values and where they overlap with people, and also what you want to get out of the season, right? I think so many times we think it has to be about presents and food and all this stuff. And it's like, actually, I don't know. I've noticed as I've gotten healthier, I want this time of year to be about slowing down, about tuning inwards rather than going. Like that's what I've realized. Like, this is my time to like gather my energy from the year rather than like diffusing the little bit of energy that most people
I mean, that's very in sync with the season, right? Especially living on the East Coast where winter really, the world is, in our world as we know it, and with the season is slowing down, shutting down. Things are cold and darker and it's calmer. The birds aren't chirping. There's not noises out there from the animals. Like it's it's hibernation. So it makes sense that you would feel that way. Versus, a lot of time, this time of year for a lot of people is like parties and this and that and going. And I have to get gifts and I have to, work.
I know we, like my sister Carlos and I, we like don't exchange gifts. We're like, look, there's nothing that you can like get me that I can't buy myself. And I'd rather us just like go out and have a great experience together. Like we'll go out to eat or something like that. And that for us, we're also not real materialistic around here. Some people love gift giving and I don't want to take that away from them. But although I did find something really small and funny that I can't wait to get Carlos, because he's the best gift giver. Like he pays attention to like what I need. And I'm just like, I'm just not like that. So I should say we do sometimes exchange gifts, but like, it's not like this pressure to do that. Like, but again, that's
Yeah, some people, then there's no right or wrong with that. I'm one of those people that loves giving and getting gifts.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's odd when I say that people, like the 5 love languages,
Yeah. What's yours?
mine is getting gifts.
Oh, mine's acts of service.
Yeah, I like to get gifts. And it's funny because that's not Mackie's way of showing love. And so I'm fine with that because it's one of the things about, I love the 5 love languages. If you haven't read it out there, it's great because it does help you understand your partner a lot more.
And we'll explain what it is to people. So there's this guy has this theory that there's 5 different ways of communicating love. One is gift giving. One is acts of service, which is like taking out the trash, cooking. One is words of affirmation. You're amazing. I love you. Keep going, whatever. Quality time.
Yep.
Another one, like spending time together. And then touch is the 5th one.
Yeah. So for Mackie, he has the 2 are quality of time and then touch, like hugs, you know what I mean? Snuggling, all of that. And for me, it's gift giving and affirmation. So give me a present, tell me I'm beautiful. And it's this, yeah, I know it sounds so shallow, but that's what I need. So, we first started dating, I would joke and I'd be like, just remember that you have to tell me that I'm beautiful every day.
When Carlos and I because I was going to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition when Carlos and I, like the first couple years we were dating, when we were learning about this, and he decided his was personal touch. And I knew mine was acts of service. Like when he does stuff around the house or like, I just love that. And then like a couple years in, he's like, oh my God, I've got enough personal touch from you. He's like, I want to upgrade. He's like, I want acts of service. I want you to cook. I want you to take out the trash. He's like, I'm like, I knew what I was talking about. Right. So it becomes this like funny joke with us about like, he's upgrading his love language, but it's different for everyone. Yeah.
So if gifts is your love language, then, it's great. And the holidays is great. The holidays is a great time for you. You're getting your fix.
Totally. And it is fun when you see something, I think, that really looks like that for someone versus just kind of like, am I going to get them another scented candle or something like that, or like get them chocolate, right? We often give what we want to give. But I think just thinking about what are those hopes and dreams for the experience, it brings such a beautiful sacredness and holiness back to this time. All right. And then the last thing is how are we going to measure this? And I think my whole thing, I always want my clients to say, how did I do compared to last year? What is the delta? How much did I change? And this is not about perfection. And I think Juliet and I were talking about a lot of times you overeat because you think, oh, tomorrow I'm back on the wagon, right? And it's that pressure itself is what makes you overeat. And so I think not aiming for perfection, like even if you plan to fail, you're still going to fail in new ways that you can learn about yourself. But really thinking about what did I do last year? And given where I am in my life, what would be an improvement? What would make me really excited if I said, wow, I did this differently and I could surprise myself rather than saying, all right, I'm only having 1 pumpkin spice latte. I'm only going to drink, 1 night a week, like these rules that just don't plan for life. If
you plan rules before you get into the situation, you are planning to fail because the restriction alone will always backfire and you'll always want what you are saying that you can't have. So if you go into with this mindset of, okay, I'm not going to eat pie. I'm not going to have the stuffing this year. I'll have the mashed potatoes, but no stuffing. That alone will create an anxiety that will then cause you to think about the stuffing the whole time and then just be like, fuck it, I suck. I have no willpower. As we, one of our beloved episodes is with Dr. Nicole Lipkin, one of Allie's best friends, and we talk about willpower. And that was such a powerful episode. So if that's one of your issues going into the holidays, definitely go listen to that episode.
Yeah. I've gotten so many emails from that and people.
Me too. People are like, and even myself, so much clarity around that with working with people. So that's an incredible episode to listen to.
Yeah. Definitely check that out. But yeah, measuring the delta is, I think so much more helpful because you'll learn about yourself and you're not stretching yourself and setting yourself up for failure. And I think some examples of this, so maybe if last year you look back on your holiday season and think about what went really well. What did you like about that? And then where were some of the things that maybe left you ragged, left you broke, left you depleted? And what's 1 or 2 things that you want to work on? Don't try to do it all.
What's yours, Allie? Do you have one this year from last year reflecting?
Yeah, great question. So I don't really overeat or look to the holidays to overeat anymore. I definitely eat differently. I think for me, I want to stay active because this year has been really about getting back into an activity schedule, and I have been, and I can also be like, I'll just skip it, so staying active while I travel is really important. And I want to stay off social media as much.
I feel like this election has made me antsy. And then I go into social media because obviously my feed more reflects my views and I feel comfort. But then that's the same people that like, they're worried about what I'm worried about. So we just there's comfort in that like anxiety, but it also is like draining me. Like I feel like it's made me really judgmental in ways that I wish I weren't, just like frustrated with people. So I think really emotionally shutting down and like getting to sleep early and not like watching Netflix up until like 10 o'clock, but like reading. So that's my goal, is like really to be okay being emotionally calm rather than emotionally frantic. How about you?
Well, if we're just relating to the holiday season, I think if I could improve on something this year, it would be not waiting till the last minute to buy everybody gifts, because it stresses me out a lot. And
it's something you love.
So it's something I enjoy. So why save it for, why be frantic at the last minute? So, just getting ahead of that would be really helpful for me. And that's just in general, a theme for me that I'm trying to work on is not waiting till the last minute for things, right? Scheduling things in so that I'm not trying to front load everything and then feeling overwhelmed. So that's, oftentimes when you see something in one aspect of your life, it shows up in many other aspects. And so me doing the last minute gift giving shows up for other things for myself too, like last minute work, just waiting, doing the laundry until it's like overflowing. So, there's all those little things. So, procrastination.
Well, in coaching, we say how you do anything is how you do everything. And my clients, actually in Truths with Food, the abbreviation for Truths with Food is TWF. And one client said she accidentally wrote WTF. That's just as appropriate, because you start to see, even though we look at the stories around food, they start to see how those stories and feelings show up everywhere. And they're like, oh, I can't not see it now. Like it's invisible until you can see it. So I'm curious if like why you like to procrastinate.
Why I like to procrastinate. Haven't quite figured that out yet. There's a couple of reasons, but we'll save that for another podcast.
Okay. Because I'm so curious now.
Yeah. No, don't worry, listeners. We'll share that with you, just not on today's episode.
All right, great. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. Again, plan to fail, what's going to go wrong, and then work around some of those pitfalls. Give yourself a chance to plan and think those through. We often get really great ideas when we have the space to think about these things. The second thing is call your host and see what their hopes and dreams are for the experience. Like Juliet said, they want you to have a good time. It can open up a really beautiful dialogue, especially I know a lot of my clients feel like a burden if they have food allergies or they don't want to eat certain things. You can say, well, if you want everyone to be really happy, what can I bring so that those of us who are, celiac or can't eat dairy, what would be really helpful for you? And it opens up this beautiful meeting of intimacy rather than, oh my God, I'm a burden and I don't know if gonna have anything to eat. So think about that. And then don't focus on perfection or all or nothing, but improving this year over last year. I think that's a wrap. Anything else, Juliet?
No, it's not about the food all the time. I'm going into listening to this episode. I'm sure some of you were thinking, okay, I'm going to now master being able to not overeat in the holidays. But, it's not mastering the food versus mastering your mentality around how you view the situation or your family or your emotional well-being during the holiday season. That's really where then the food will be the side effect. You'll have better relationship with the food.
Yes, lots of research opportunities. So the faster you fail, the more data you get.
So true. So true. Every time I would fuck up with food, I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. Not when you can get to a place where it's not judgy anymore. It's just, that's interesting that happened. Wonder why.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, and for listeners, we both wish you just a really happy Thanksgiving and cheery, merry holiday season. Although we'll be back, obviously, but have a really great Thanksgiving and be safe as you go over the river and through the woods too. Yeah.
And don't forget to review us on iTunes. We love all your reviews and it really helps us keep the show alive, and connect with us on the Facebook page /Insatiable Podcast on the Facebook page, and just reach out to Ali and I anytime, because we want to know what you guys want to talk about and what you think of the episodes. We're happy to answer any questions.
Yes, we are insatiable for connection with our podcast listeners.
Thank you so much for listening to the Insatiable Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. You can connect with us on social media. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram @Juliet Unite. and Allie at Allie M. Shapiro. M stands for Marie. Please feel free to also email us any questions. We would love to hear from all our listeners. You can reach us at Allie at allieshapiro.com and Juliet at unitefitness.com. We'll see you next time.